set? All right, good evening, everybody. Bonsoir tout le monde. Merci d'avoir assisté avec nous. Thanks for coming this evening. We'll start our meeting. We're short tonight. We're short one of our counselors, Lauren Small-Pennefather, and we're also short tonight our DG, Maître Raphael Destasio. But as well, we have our usual counselors, Elizabeth Hewlin, Colleen Feeney, Maria Torres, and our town clerk, Maître Claude Gilbert. So if I could have somebody move to open the meeting, please.
Oui, je propose d'ouvrir la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Hewlin. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Approbation de l'ordre du jour.
Je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du lundi 26 mai 2025 tel que présenté.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Feeney. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Approbation des procès-verbaux.
Oui, je propose d'approuver le procès-verbaux des séances du conseil tenues les dates suivantes. Séance ordinaire le 28 avril 2025. Séance spéciale du 15 mai 2025.
Merci, la conseillère Feeney. Je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Hewlin. Tout en faveur.
Oui.
Oui.
Parfait. We're going to move right to reports. We'll start with the mayor's report. Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir à tous. Although my role as mayor identifies me as a politician, I often mention that politics is not my strong suit. Nevertheless, I'm going to make a political promise. Summer will come eventually. So, bien que mon rôle de maire m'identifie comme un homme politique, je mentionne souvent que la politique n'est pas mon point fort. Néanmoins, je ferai une promesse politique. L'été finira par arriver. Regarding Council's decision to withhold the traffic study, the report contains complex information that I, even after 18 years in Montreal-Ouest and at the Agglomeration Council, often need experts to clarify. Misinformation can spread when details are not properly explained. One emailer claimed that information is always good and then insulted me using the crudest of slurs. Mr. Burditch, incorrect or misunderstood information is extremely harmful. Furthermore, an executive summary was shared with Ms. Dewey and Mr. Kenton in February. There are other reasons why the report is not released as well. I didn't want to rely on those, but we're in the middle of fine-tuning these plans with our partners, EXO, the SIM, the SPVM, and Urgence Santé, and eventually we'll proceed to a call for tenders. Certain information cannot be released ahead of time. Concernant la décision du Conseil de ne pas publier l'étude sur la circulation, le rapport contient des informations complexes que, même après 18 ans à Montréal-Ouest et à l'agglomération, j'ai souvent besoin de faire clarifier par des experts. La désinformation peut se répandre lorsque les détails ne sont pas correctement expliqués. Un expéditeur de courriel a prétendu que l'information est toujours une bonne et m'a ensuite insulté en utilisant les insultes les plus grossières. Monsieur Burditch, les informations incorrectes ou mal comprises sont extrêmement nuisibles. En outre, un résumé a été communiqué à Mademoiselle Dewey et à Monsieur Kenton en février. Il y a également d'autres raisons pour lesquelles le rapport n'est pas publié. Comme nous sommes en train de peaufiner ces plans avec nos partenaires et que nous procéderons éventuellement à un appel d'offres, certaines informations ne peuvent pas être divulguées à l'avance. As Council has said from the beginning, we will act upon the recommendations made by the traffic engineers, experts in the field, not casual readers. And as we have said, we will hold an information session to discuss the proposed changes. The meeting will be held at 7 p.m. on June 12th here at Town Hall, ensuring accurate answers to the questions. Comme le Conseil a dit depuis le début, nous donnerons suite aux recommandations formulées par les ingénieurs en charge de la circulation, qui sont des experts en la matière et non des lecteurs occasionnels. Et comme nous l'avons dit, nous organiserons une séance d'information pour discuter les changements proposés. Cette réunion aura lieu le 12 juin à 19 h ici à l'Hôtel de Ville, afin de garantir des réponses précises aux questions posées. June 10th marks the 100th anniversary of the Montreal-West United Church. Montreal-West has 3 active congregations that enrich our community immensely, including the Mo-West United Church. Reverend Hammond, please convey town councils and residents' congratulations to your congregation. Keep up the great work in our community. Le 10 juin marque le 100e anniversaire de l'Église unie de Montréal-Ouest. Montréal-Ouest est chanceux de compter 3 congrégations actives qui enrichissent enrichissent grandement notre communauté, dont l'Église unie de Montréal-Ouest. Reverend Hammond, veuillez transmettre les félicitations du conseil municipal et des résidents à votre congrégation. Continuez votre excellent travail dans notre communauté. Thank you, and please look after each other. Merci, et prenez soin l'une des autres. Thank you very much. We're going to start with the councilors' reports, starting from from seat number 2, seat number 3, on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of an age-friendly municipality. Councillor Colleen Feeney.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. I'm going to start by talking about finance. The second installment of the property tax was due May 21st. To date, 92% of the 2025 property taxes are fully paid. All town offices will be closed on Tuesday, June the 24th and Tuesday, July the 1st. The 2024 financial statements will be deposited later in this meeting. The audited statements will be published will be online on our website tomorrow, as well as in the upcoming Informer, which should be delivered this coming weekend. I'll give a very short synopsis of this later in the meeting. Disbursements. This past month, we disbursed $791,000.53. And the highlights of that report really are, as usual, the majority, over 35% of them, were deductions at source and utilities. That amounted to about almost $300,000. We had $128,000 in capital expenditures. Of that, $60,000 was for vehicles, $44,000 was for the new recreation center, and that was mostly for consultants' fees. In other areas, we had about $86,000 for some of the final bills for our snow removal this past year, and that included $68,000 for the rental of the snow dump. As well, the usual culprits, about $30,000 on garbage, and we also had about $23,000 on vehicle repairs. We also did a study this past time, the traffic study. We got in a bill for $14,000 for additional work on that to help us set up the future changes that will be made as a result. We did a buildings evaluation that cost us about $17,000, and that was to bring us in line with our new asset management requirement for our audit. Those were the main things. In addition, we paid $16,000 as our quote-part, our part of the insurance for the UMQ. Those are the main expenditures this past month. Moving to recreation now, we had a very, very successful pop-up event in the park yesterday, and actually the weather finally cooperated, so it was extremely well attended. We will be having a lot more events in the park this summer, as we usually do. The next one is going to be on June 17th. It's a community night in Davies Park at 6 p.m. There will be a performance by musical group. You will be able to meet local community groups, the day camp staff, the swim team coaches, etc. And food will be on sale from Burger de Ville. Then on Sunday, the 23rd of June, we will have La Fête Nationale du Québec in Davies Park also at 4:30 with crafts, balloons, sculpting, face painting, barbecue, and Quebec music by Gladys. I think that's the way you pronounce it. When we have these summer events, we invite you to bring a blanket. Food and drink will be provided for sale. And if you want any more information, you can call the Recreation Department. Nous avons aussi notre vitrine artistique. Le thème de la vitrine été 2025 est les connexions. Et les dates limites pour la soumission est le 13 juin. In the community center, the day camp weekly registration begins on May 28th at 9 a.m. That is for people who only want to sign up for 1 week at a time. In the tennis camp, there are a few spots remaining. And there's also going to be a new program, an atelier de maquillage pour enfants. And it'll be on vendredi le 6 juin. And please sign up if you are interested. Moving on to the pool. The registration continues for pool programming, which is going to be hosted out of the Côte Saint-Luc Aquatic Club again this summer. We have over 110 kids registered to continue with the Montreal-Ouest Aquatic Club, which is has a tradition of training and competing in the Alps, the Summer Swim, and the Diving Competition Association. Without a home pool to swim, our meets are, of course, going to be at other pools in the association. Our head coach will be Olivia Wood, who is following in the footsteps of her parents. She'll be leading our team for a summer of fun events, stroke improvement, and team spirit. Check the Amelia online for all details. There'll also actually be master's programming, aquafit, and life-saving courses. So they can be registered for, and we encourage you to register early to reserve your spot for the summer. Day camp begins in a month, and there are so far over 260 kids registered, so we are on pace to have another great summer. The staff has been hired. The coordinators will began work in early May, preparing for a fun and safe summer for the camp. Space remains in select age groups and weeks, and there are some weekly registration spots that are available that will be opened up on Wednesday. Les inscriptions pour l'été sont disponibles pour le camp, les programmes d'été sur centre communautaire, le camp de tennis et la piscine. Les informations sur tous les événements et les mises à jour ont été ajoutées au site web affiché sur Facebook et dans The Informer. Now moving on to the seniors portfolio, we had a very successful Caring Neighbors Day on May the 10th. I want to thank Montreal-West volunteers and the Loyola students who made this event happen. They were helping our seniors with outdoor chores. And so far, this time, 13 households in the town were helped out. So they really appreciate the work that they get. So kudos to all those who helped organize them, including Danny Holland, who's really the mastermind behind all of these, and her crew. Today, we had a great lecture, very informative, on healthy aging and how to be prepared for giving and receiving care. It was given by our social worker, Zelda Freitas, who's also a member of my Seniors Advisory Committee. So it was a lot of great information. We will be putting the slides up on our website for anybody who missed it, and we'll be putting a little additional information. And by the way, if you haven't, those of you who are interested, if you haven't checked out the seniors website and on the town, it's a very, very informative page, either for yourself, for people that you know. We have links to all kinds of organizations, from Meducaloa to caregivers associations, etc. So please feel free to give that a glance every so often. Continuing on the seniors activities, May 28th, later this week, we have a guided tour of Chinatown and with a dim sum. June 3rd, there'll be an active walking group again. It'll be going through Mount Royal Cemetery. It'll be a guided tour, and we will have a bus bringing us to that location. If you want to sign up for that, please call the community center and reserve. There's also a seniors barbecue on the 6th of June and a trip to Upper Canada Playhouse on the 11th. So a very, very busy group. So that's it for my report. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me later in the meeting or to send me an email. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Reporting on matters pertaining to urban planning from seat number 4, Councillor Maria Torres.
Good evening. Bonsoir à tous. Over the past month, the Urban Planning Department issued 32 permits for various projects, including the installation of new fences, modifications to properties, the construction of decks and porches, and the use of public land and tree removals. Which brings me to the next point. I want to remind property owners who received permits to cut down trees that they are required to replace those trees either in the same location or nearby as soon as possible. This stipulation is an essential component of the permit that was issued. Je tiens à rappeler aux propriétaires ayant reçu un permis d'abattage d'arbres qu'ils sont tenus de remplacer cet arbre, soit au même endroit, soit à proximité, dès que possible. Cette exigence est un élément essentiel du permis. The next Planning Advisory Committee PAC meeting are scheduled for June 4th, and please note that the meeting originally set for June 18th have been rescheduled for June 16th. So the 2 dates are the 4th and the 16th. Additionally, the PAC will meet only once in July. So for those who are planning to apply for For upcoming projects, please submit your complete applications as soon as possible to avoid any delays. Les prochaines réunions du comité consultatif d'urbanisme sont prévues pour le 4 juin. Veuillez noter que la réunion initialement prévue pour le 18 juin a été rapportée au 16 juin. De plus, le CCU ne se réunira qu'une seule fois en juillet. Donc, si vous prévoyez de déposer une demande de permis pour vos projets à venir, veuillez soumettre vos dossiers complets dès que possible afin d'éviter tout retard. C'est tout pour moi ce soir. Merci. And if you have any questions, please let me know later on or send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you
Bonsoir.
very much, Councillor Torres. Reporting from seat number 2 on matters pertaining to public works, communications, and the environment, Councillor Elizabeth Yulin.
Bonsoir à tous. Welcome, everyone. So our public works teams have been working on tree maintenance and inspections and park and green space cleaning and flower planting recently. On the roads, they've been making asphalt repairs and installing seasonal speed bumps. 3 water breaks were also repaired this month, with 2 more that will be repaired in the coming week. The street lines were also painted and the terraces installed on Westminster, and finally, the street sweeper has been out on the road daily. Under the Environment Department, the tree giveaway trees were delivered to residents this week, and public street tree planting was slated to begin today. In addition, the hazardous waste drop-off was held, which collected tires and paint and electronics and many other items that shouldn't be sent to landfill. The Environmental Action Committee, or EAC, has 2 events in the coming weeks to support the circular economy. This Saturday, May 31st, will be the town-wide garage sale and band fest. New this year, we'll be adding all participating lemonade stands to our interactive map and encouraging sellers of all goods to donate a portion of their proceeds to an environmental organization. As of this afternoon, we had 93 garage sales registered, 13 bands, and 18 lemonade stands on the map. So if you'd like to participate, please check on the website and you can sign up from now until the day before. And by the way, if it rains on Saturday, it will be on Sunday. We'll send out a bulletin in case that's what happens. And I believe Elizabeth said she could put it on the Facebook page as well. Let's see. Then the following Saturday and Sunday is free-for-all weekend, when you can place any unwanted or unsold items in good condition at the end of your driveway for your neighbors to take for free. So both these events encourage keeping functional items in use rather than sending them to the landfill as garbage. Au cours des derniers mois, le service de communication a lancé une vidéo présentant le nouveau centre sportif et récréatif, accompagné l'annonce officielle du nom de la future patinoire. Parallèlement, la collaboration avec les services de loisirs, des travaux publics et de la division environnement a permis de soutenir la promotion de leurs activités saisonnières. That's it for me, and I'd be very pleased to answer any questions you have during question period.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. We're going to move to first question period. The rules for question period are been the same as been for a long time. Basically, we're going to take questions from the room first. You're entitled to ask, maximum of 25 minutes in all, total, 2 questions per person, short preamble, your first question and a follow-up question if you want. And I'll remind you that's a question period, not a debate period. After the questions from the floor, we will answer questions from residents that have been submitted online until 2 p.m. today on any topic. Same rule applies, 25 minutes total, 2 questions per person maximum. In the second question period, we'll be taking questions pertaining only to the agenda submitted via our website during this meeting. We limit that to 10 minutes from the floor and 10 minutes online. And I see there's some people in the room that may have sent questions in online. So if it's one if you're here and you want to ask in person, go ahead. And then if that's the case, I won't read your question online. So the microphone is over here. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and please ask your question.
I'm Karen Christensen. I live at 8019 Avon. I'm just following up on a question that I asked a few months ago, because the answer that I had at the time was we're going to look into it. The crosswalk at Westminster and Ainslie is not well lit because the existing street light is not on the pole that is at that corner. This makes the pedestrians harder to see, particularly during winter mornings and evenings. So what I would like to know is, can the lights be added or moved to the pole that is on that corner to improve pedestrian visibility at that crosswalk?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
sure.
Councillor
Thanks for
Yule.
your question, Karen. So we talked to Public Works, and the only short-term option for that would be to add solar street lights in that area, and as we did in 88 Crestwood had a similar situation. So all I can tell you now is we'll do the analysis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a second question inspired by my walk here. Has the town ever looked into having a red light camera at that light on Avon?
We're not allowed to have red light cameras. The
No.
only people that are allowed to do red light cameras right now are the city of Montreal.
Is it City of Montreal
Yeah,
only?
and we've been
can't be
pushing
done-
for it.
Okay.
Quite, like, not just Montreal-West, I'm saying the demerged municipalities.
Okay.
We've been pushing for it because we feel that would do a lot to help enforce when we can't get police here. If we had red light camera or even like the radars,
Right,
things like
because
those
speeding
lines.
and running the red
Yeah.
light is a big problem in that corner.
Right now, the rules don't allow us to have it. The only ones that could have it are the city of Montreal.
So not even through the SPVM? or
Oh, no,
anything?
well, it would be implemented through SPVM,
Right.
but right now, the rules only allow the city of Montreal to have it. Is that gonna come? Yeah, that's something we're all pushing for.
Great, thank you.
Great question, thank you.
Hello, Joanna Dewey, 232 Percival. First, I just want to thank the council for organizing the information session on June 12th for more information about changes coming up to Westminster. And then I have two questions. One is on March 10th, Councillor Small-Pennefather confirmed that the school zone sign that used to be on Westminster near where the new condo is, and which was removed during the demolition of the library and subsequent construction of the Easton condo, it hasn't been replaced yet, and I'm just following up and asking if there's a timeline on that one.
We'll answer that question, then we'll come to your second question.
Okay,
So
sure.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Elizabeth.
So yes, I have from PW, or Public Works, sorry, that they will install the signage for Sajo. Ryland has confirmed, we'll have to confirm tomorrow if the signage was already dropped off at Public Works, but it's intended to be done as soon as possible.
Okay,
Thanks for your question.
Thank you. And my second question is, I've been going back to the period of around 2010 to 2013 in the Gazette and looking at when the AMT announced that they would significantly increase all the trains that were going to come through here. And there was discussion of having an overpass or tunnel at West Broadway to help alleviate traffic pressure on Westminster. And I'm just wondering, was there ever a report that was brought to council about this or any other options? And in particular, do you know what happened to the idea of extending West Broadway over the tracks?
From the last time it was ever mentioned, quite honestly, Ms. Dewey, was maybe about 2 years ago when they were getting ready to open up that new little outbuilding to service the tracks on the other side. And they talked about it originally, and they talked about it again this last time as a subsequent phase. Now, subsequent phase, is that 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? I can't answer that question. But they'd spoken about trying to make a grade separation at West Broadway. An overpass or an underpass, I don't know that answer, so that West Broadway would go up and over or down below the tracks. But I don't have any information where they've gone further than that. At the time, I remember them saying that the big challenge was convincing the provincial government to invest the money to do that. Okay, but I don't have more information since then. Like I said, the last time was 2 years ago when we were walking the new building there on Sherbrooke. So I haven't
Okay, well,
heard
it's good
anything
to know
since
it's still on the table.
then. Oh, I wouldn't put money down on that, but yeah. Nobody said it's dead yet, but
Right.
yeah.
And if one wanted to advocate, that would be then.
I think I would then be sending information or sending the advocacy letters towards EXO, because they
Okay.
would be the ones that would be in charge of that project, from what I understand.
Okay.
Now, does it eventually become a provincial government and an MTQ thing? I don't know that answer. But the fact that it exists to go above or below the tracks My guess is that it's EXO. That's where I would be pushing.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Sheila Ettinger, 438 Hudson. I'm here on behalf of the Montreal-West Public Library and its patrons. I don't really have a question, but what I would like to do is thank the Town Council for their continued support of the library. And a number of our members expressed their desire to personally thank the council for renewing our lease, and they did it in the form of written letters, which we'd like to present to you.
Well, if you could just drop them to Maître Gilbert. Thank you very much for that. Actually, a couple of people dropped some right in my
Thank you.
mailbox, so there you go. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Victor Gonzalez for 28 Radcliffe, Montreal-West. So I just wanted to start by thanking council for tonight's meeting and the question period, so for the opportunity to ask some questions. And then the first question, before I get to the first question, I did also want to just quickly make a note of thank you to the Montreal-West Public Security Team and the PSOs for all their work. And I can briefly say that I have seen many different situations where their interventions have really helped the community. It's had a big impact on my family in different situations, and so we wanted to say thank you for that, and at the same time to the City Montreal-West Council and council members and mayor. The first question is if there's an update on the provincial grant that provides funding to organizations trying to make their community safer for pedestrians, the PAFFSR, that is currently open for application and closes on July 17.
As far as I understand, Mr. Gonzalez, the application is in.
Okay.
We have not heard, I have not heard anyway, if they've come back and asked for more information. I know for a fact we haven't heard any decision yet.
Okay.
But I know the application had been deposited.
Okay, appreciate that. And the second brief question is concerning the updating of the road markings in the City of Montreal-West. So I think it's greatly appreciated by many residents in terms of public safety, which is a major issue in the city that that many people have noticed. But at the same time, the question itself is that given the fact that Westminster is the main artery that connects all the roads in Montreal-West as our main artery, is there a particular reason in terms of why Westminster hasn't been the priority one in terms of updating the road markings on Westminster, because it is, again, the main artery, and at the same time, it's the main focal point where people that are driving there are going to be reminded of that they need to be respecting municipal bylaws, making full stops, respecting road crossings and whatnot. So it's just in regards to finding out.
That's actually a very good point, Mr. Gonzalez. I have to be honest with you. So I know that the work is a little bit ahead of schedule this year.
Yeah.
Like I've seen they've done a bunch of streets. And I know Westminster, they usually have to do it at night.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they've never been given direction or the way the contract works.
Yeah.
I don't know that answer. But you're raising a valid point. Why is that not prioritized? And we can raise it with Public Works,
Yeah.
just so they'll know for future contracts.
Exactly.
I just don't know what the reason is. And there may be a reason, I just don't know what it is.
Oh, no, and that's fair.
But that's a valid point you're raising. Is there
Yeah.
a reason why Westminster, which is the most important road in the town, isn't prioritized? That's a fair
And I
question.
appreciate that, because like I mentioned, it is a focal point. So
Yeah.
and I think it's always possible to see about in terms of interdepartmental collaborations, Public Works and urban planning, because like I said, when people are looking at the main road and it's reminding them they're seeing all these updates being done,
That's a fair question, yeah.
it puts it at the top of their mind. But when it's side streets that are being done, it is going to be a priority, but then it's not something that's immediately on their minds, right? So
I appreciate it. Thanks for the
I
question,
appreciate
Mr. Gonzalez.
your time.
We'll pass
Thank
the
you.
words to Public Works. That's a very valid intervention.
okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
So, Mr. Lee?
Hi, it's Mike Ely, 62 Ronald. Just sort of following up on last meeting as well, but two questions that are online, so you could skip those. But in terms of, I think, the U-Haul that's going to be demolished and then the zoning change that led to it, I sort of went online today, and I know it was sort of said people were consulted, or at least it was posted, and I have trouble finding that. Is that something where it's posted just in town hall, or is it posted online, or is it in town council kind of meetings where those changes take place?
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I'm glad you're asking this question because it is, yeah, it could be. We're so used to dealing with the website and all that that we don't notice, but it is there. And just to give information about the U-Haul demolition, the public meeting, we started posting on April. No, there are a few of them. Okay, so it is on the website, and I'll let you know how, where it is. I do have that we did post it about the whole project, whether we were changing the zoning or the demolition, at the town hall, in the suburban, the town website, in public notices, or on panels in front of the building. That's what we have to do. Concerning the zoning changes, it was the same thing. It was in the town hall, here during the council meetings, and the Gazette town website, and also in the general e-bulletin of October 23rd. We started this project in October. I just went back into the dates. So the way we publish it in the, you can always look into all this information on the website. If you go on Montreal-Ouest website and you go into the services, the town services, and then go into administration or administrative services, then download and you go into the public notices. And you're going to find out all the public notices that are continuously published there. The most recent one was the cancellation of the demolition committee for this building. But you also find when we have anything, information sessions, consultation sessions, changing of zoning, all the information is there. So you can keep up to date with everything that is happening in town.
So I think short term is the same, Mr. Illy, the town hall, the suburban and or the Gazette, the town website in the public notices section, and on panels near the affected property, and in our e-bulletin and on the town website.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, no,
my
but you
search
asked the question
today,
last time.
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
my
Yeah.
search today, and I consider myself pretty, able, I couldn't find that.
Yeah.
For a building that I think will be the tallest building in Montreal-West history, I'm just surprised that very few, and I say very few because I can't say I've asked everybody on my street, knows nothing about it.
Okay.
It's again like the sale. Oh, we posted the sale. You posted the sale, you didn't post it was for sale. And it was a great thing. It's going to generate tax revenue. I'm not against this project. And I appreciate that. I think town council is sort of saying that the PAC needs to be satisfied with the plan. I'm not anti, I'm not blaming. It's just a little surprising for something that's, I think, 6 stories. The residents are concerned it'll actually make the trains louder. We know we live next to trains, but a 6-story metal box, because that's what I think it'll be. If you know the one near Canadian Tire, it's a 6-story metal box. It'll be exactly that. I'm sure they build them the same. And that's just an echo waiting to happen. So I appreciate that. I don't know what the next steps are, but I'm just very concerned that it's going to make an already a kind of touchy subject with noise in our south side. The echoes of those go pretty high up. So it's not just Ronald, it's everybody. So I don't know how to do it, but I appreciate it. And if PAC can consider that in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Cynthia Nichols, 25 Westminster South. I came here because I was actually going to talk about the flooding everywhere. I don't know if you've noticed, but across the street at the bus stop, there's, I don't know, some sort of manhole or whatever it is, and it's been leaking for the past 2 weeks that I've noticed, and it's draining down into Ville St. Pierre. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there's a heads up.
That's a water break that we're aware of.
Okay, so you are?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Excellent, because, I'm still dealing with flooded lands over there. But that's not the reason I came here. About the garage sale, you did mention it before. I've had a few of the merchants ask whether or not they were able to participate in the garage sale. Like if they were able to put out a table of whatever it is they sell, that kind of a thing.
I have to say, we hadn't considered that, but there's no reason they can't put out a table.
Perfect. So perhaps you can just send an email or a little announcement or something. A few people here in the room,
Yeah.
but I don't want to.
Well, I'd ask you to spread the word if you can. I don't know.
No,
I don't
I've got
know.
many words
I
to
don't
spread.
know that we're going to send out an email to all the
I don't
merchants.
exactly see a paycheck here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they have ownership of the property outside their
Yes,
venues, and
yeah.
they can put a table out there if they like.
Well-
So they know that it's happening, I'm sure, as
Well,
everyone does.
maybe you can just put a little notice in so they have enough time to sign on or to do something. Anyways,
Okay, well,
that is the one.
Thank you.
The other thing is, you brought up West Broadway. Interestingly, I've been working on that green space for the past 2 years now. We've cleaned up the garbage dump. We've got beautiful gardens in. I'm wondering, would the town like to donate a tree? You have some white pines that are available, and we would love to have a white pine, if that's possible. Or can I purchase one and bring it to the city of Montreal?
Well, those trees, the tree giveaway or the $20 tree sale is finished.
Oh, it
The
is.
trees were delivered this week,
Ah.
so they would have been purchased and delivered. And they are to be, they're really for Montreal-West locations. Yeah,
But would it be possible even for next year to donate a tree?
we'll have to talk about that next year.
Kim, I guess that's a no. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was my 2 questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Nicholas Curtis, 74 Eastern Avenue. I wrote an email question in. Sorry, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure how to preamble this, but I will. I got a response back for a request to be at a PAC committee meeting, and the response read that unlike municipal council meetings, PAC meetings are not open to the public or to individuals whose files are under review, unless the PAC specifically invites property owners, contractors, or other professionals to provide additional information. Such invitations are made at the PAC's discretion to address complex files where further details or clarifications are needed to formulate a clear recommendation. This framework, established by legislation, ensures that the PAC can conduct its analysis free from external pressures. While the process may appear discreet, it is designed to comply fully with the legal requirements. So from that, I first and foremost would like to thank everybody here, as well as the PAC people that sit on the committee, for their public service. That's a very honorable gesture. My question, going back, I've gone through the last, whatever's posted on the website, I've gone through the meetings. The recommendations of the PAC have in the past been adopted by council at a profound rate, and there are no vehicles for a resident to either challenge or defend themselves against an unfavorable PAC recommendation. Can the council consider adding a step in the process to allow the residents to challenge or defend an application when the PAC is involved with a recommendation?
Councillor Torres, please.
Yes, hi, how are you? Yes, we did receive, I have an answer for you. We did receive your question online. And I'm going to read it to you, and then you can ask me a question if you wish. Okay, so the answer is, upon receiving notification of the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation, a resident may submit a written request to the council, clearly outlining their reason for disagreeing with the recommendation and supporting their position with well-reasoned arguments. In other words, yes, you can write to us, defend your point or explain your point, and then we'll look into before we make the decision, okay? Even if the committee doesn't recommend granting a minor exemption, which is in your case, a notice will be published in the local newspaper, allowing minimum 15 days, providing an opportunity for interested parties to share their perspective. This process also allows the resident to formally express their views and arguments regarding this case. So, yes, if you can send us a letter, explain what is your case and what would you like for us to reconsider PAC's recommendation, and then we'll decide.
Okay, is that a email on the website directed to one?
You
or
can
the-
send it to me, and
Okay.
I'll bring it to council.
Okay. With respect to, I'll say complex files with many exhibits, if you will, in where there was a number of there were a number of reasons
Mhm.
for PAC to reject the file, and the vehicles that exist to apply for the exemption were not sufficient enough to upload the extent of the files that I had been looking to share as an exhibit. Is there any other ways to, for example, I have about 250 megabytes of files, pictures, whatever. And I can't share them online. I can't share them through the website, and I can't share them through WeFile.
So I'm wondering can you do something like a Dropbox link or a
I
OneDrive
tried.
link?
So I did this, and it's insufficient as well too. The one that I had. So that's why I had copied Maria on an email
Yeah.
back to PAC, asking if I could have a meeting with council to showcase the reasons with my exhibits to be reconsidered, or at least in my to meet in the middle, if you will, to be accepted with conditions, I think it's called, that the council. So is there any other function other than sending an email with
Well,
all of those?
Yeah,
links?
I think basically what we're looking is for an explanation from
Sure.
your explanation, and a photograph or two would do it. It doesn't have to be of high quality, or it doesn't have to be an in-depth presentation. Something very simple, just explaining why you're asking for this
Sure.
minor exception. What is the main point,
Okay.
and that's it.
I'm not sure if that counted as just the 15 days when it begins. I believe the town clerk posts in one of the.
That's right.
Is it an informer
For
post,
74,
or-
for this one, 74 Easton. Have you received information to publish it? He submitted a minor,
Yeah, I've seen that you contacted Vlad.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't copied.
okay, so it hasn't started yet, the 15 days, right?
Oh, sorry. I was under the impression that when the PAC committee submits their their recommendation, that a 15-day period
Starts
begins
right away?
after it's published in a paper or.
Well, yeah,
in-
no,
in
Vlad
some
has to
form.
send him the information, and then he will publish it in the newspaper.
Okay. 'Cause
And then it
that
will
was-
come to us.
That was the 15 day.
Actually, it could not be published in time to be go through before the council today.
Oh,
So
that's
it will
great.
be
Yeah.
in June.
Because I would really like, so for the 15 days that start, you had made mention that not only people that would have issue with the minor exemption, but
That's right.
maybe people that would have no problem with it could come in some kind of forum to say, I have no problem with my neighbor having this exemption.
How did they contact? They would contact you when you publish it on.
Actually, the only thing I do in this is to publish the notice with the information I received from Vlad.
Okay.
But I'm not discussing the file as such. The information would go through Vlad, and eventually people can show up at the council meeting and present their views. Or else, if you want, you can email to my attention your observations. But I've already seen them. Just I think either Vlad copied me on an answer to you, or you copied me on your.
Oh, just asking about okay. Very good. I just wanted to, in case I could have some.
But I mean, my role is not to escalate the debate.
Oh, I totally understand. I was under the assumption that there was a 15-day period for people to either write in or come to council or come to and say, I don't agree with this, or I have a problem with this. But if the same vehicle exists for people to come and say, I have no problem with this, and I think that it should be granted, I'm just asking for that vehicle, like would exist there, do they write in?
Mr. Curtis, can I
Yes.
ask you, because this is a very particular case, Mr. Maitre Gilbert will be here at the end of the meeting, if you could ask him the questions then? Appreciate it, thank you. Mr. Soden, sir.
Thank you.
Bob Snowden, 26 Easton Avenue. I have 3 copies that I'd like to share. It's the same subject about the
Yeah,
spruce.
the tree, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last course, well, I'll let you ask your question. Go ahead, Mr. Soden.
So I still haven't heard back from the mayor since my March 16th email when I replied to his March 13th email asking about how to proceed with the tree replacement.
Right.
And in my email, I explained very simply how I'd like to do it.
You'd like the tree taken down, and you asked for an acknowledgement that they had made a mistake.
Yes. Yes, but I want to be able to choose the tree within
Right.
reason. I just don't want them to show up with something. I'd like to go to some pepiniere or something, nursery, and say, okay, that'll do, whichever they choose. That to me is reasonable. It's just, when the town delimbed our spruce and defaced our property, it was as though the town had entered our private garden and destroyed it. If I were the mayor or the public works director and this happened on my watch, I would be falling all over myself trying to apologize and to make things right. And this certainly hasn't been the case.
So I can answer you about the choice of trees. So the way it works when we put a street tree on your property is you get a choice of 3 trees. Okay, and this is the way it works for everyone. And so what they do is they look at the type of tree that would go best on that property, given.
Not a spruce that I have, whether it goes.
No, it almost certainly would not be a spruce. No, it would not be a conifer.
It's completely unacceptable.
Okay.
They come in and destroy. I mean, as I said, it's like going into our backyard, a beautiful backyard, destroying everything there, and going away with no explanation. And now you're saying they're not going to try to do the best to put things back as close as possible to what they were.
Okay, you're saying that was a town tree, the spruce?
I planted it.
Okay.
It was planted over 40 years ago.
Right.
I have a picture of my daughter here.
Right. So the spruce was planted as a private tree because the town doesn't plant conifers as street trees.
When I planted it over 40 years ago, I don't believe that was necessarily the case. Because there's spruces all
Okay,
over
I
the
can't,
town.
I'm sorry, I
Well, you
can't
see,
speak
you
to
can't
that.
speak to
Yeah,
that,
I
so
mean,
then-
I've been here for
then why
20
are
years,
you-
but not that long. So all I can tell you is what the process is now, and that we go to the property, we analyze what kind of a tree is suitable for that location, and we give the resident 3 choices, and they choose which one they want, and then it's planted. So that's the process.
Completely unacceptable.
Okay.
It's completely unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soden. If there's no more, I'll continue with the questions that were sent in online. First question came from Gord Farrell, 44 Curzon. I made a statement and a request at council meeting in January 25, followed by an email with additional information at the request of Mayor Masella, with all councillors in CC. To date, I've yet to receive a response from anyone. Councillor Torres, please.
Yes, Mr. Farrell. I spoke to him today, for everybody to know. He had asked questions in November last year, and I did send him an email. Then in January, he came back with the same question, and we did answer his questions. However, he's not happy with the answer, so he asked again. So I called him today to see if there is some of the information that I was missing. And yes, in effect, I learned a lot from the conversation today. So I just want to tell him that we did discuss that today. We have a few questions and a few suggestions. And also we have a lot of challenges, specifically or especially on how do we enforce anything that we might propose or not. I told you I was going to call you tomorrow. I will call you tomorrow. We'll talk. I'll visit your place, and then we'll go from then on. And I hope that we can find a solution that suits everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for your question. Farah Isa, 307 Ronald Drive. There's been a road code planted in the middle of a manhole at the end of Ronald Drive for over a year, and that road was cut around it in preparation to repair. However, as everything in Montreal-West seemed to take years before completion, it is a danger for bikers and cars as we turn the corner into Ronald. Kindly repair this situation as soon as possible. 2, Montreal-West infrastructure seems to be going from bad to ridiculous in the last 20 years. Attention to that problem is more important than organizing events. Councillor Yulin, please.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mr. Issa. So if you could email me with some more details about this cone. There are some cones that don't belong to the town in that area, and others that are related to the Courtney Hill and the bike path. So we'd need actually more information about the cone you're speaking about to help in this matter. So if you could email that to me, I'll forward that along to Public Works, or you could speak to them directly, and we'll see if we can figure that out. Thank you very much for your question.
Is there any chance I can intervene? Because I live right there. I mean, the town cut a 2-meter square around this cone. The cone's there to protect people.
So,
Manhole covers 6 inches to 12 inches below the surface.
okay, the response that I have here is that there are some cones that don't belong to the town in that area.
It's been placed there from somebody else to save lives.
So some resident put cones there.
Probably.
Okay.
But it is work that we're undertaking, Mr. Ely?
They came, they cut a square,
Okay.
they walked away.
And it's on a
6
road or
months to a year.
a road or a sidewalk, Mr. Ely?
Middle of the road at the intersection of Brock South
Okay.
and Ronald.
Okay.
I hate to.
No,
That's
listen.
fine.
I
That's fine.
appreciate
That clarifies
that.
things for us.
It's just, it looked like they were gonna do the work. They cut the road.
Yeah.
Obviously, Public Works was gonna come raise it, and then it just.
Just died. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ely.
So we will.
No,
Thank you for the
intervening.
clarification. So, Mr. Issa, on your behalf, Mr. Ellie has clarified that. So I will send that along to Public Works and get back to you about when that work is to be done. Thanks for your question.
Thank you. Jennifer Melnick, 140 Ballantyne South. There's a water break at the corner of Avon Ballantyne South that's been running for several weeks. It popped up after a few other breaks nearby were repaired. First question, when will this one be repaired? Excuse me. Why are there so many water breaks in this area? Is this zone on the priority list for infrastructure upgrades? Is our drinking water being tested if pipes open underground? Councillor Yulin, please.
Sure. Thank you, Jennifer, for your question. A few of them. So in terms of when it will be repaired, so the answer I have here is hopefully next week. It's a complicated repair that involves coordination with Montreal, so that's always a little more complicated, and an outside contractor because of the complexity. But right now they have it scheduled for next week. In terms of why there's so many water breaks in this area, and is the street on the priority list. So Avon and Ballantyne South have been on the high priority list since the analysis was done for the 2018-2022 period. So yes, we're hopeful that those areas will be done relatively soon. I can't give you a specific date. But no, the water is not tested routinely when there are water breaks on the road. So thank you very much for your questions.
If I could just add something, Councillor Yulin, to answer you a little bit differently, Ms. Melnick, that road or that section of Avon between Westminster and the limit of Montreal-West, we've actually received some granting to change that road. But until we can't change our pipes underneath because we have to connect with the City of Montreal pipes, and the City of Montreal has not prioritized that work. We keep asking them that we're ready to do the work, but can you get together so we can coordinate? We're only opening up the road once. All the usual intelligent reasons to want to do the work, but the City of Montreal has not prioritized that work. So like I said, we actually had received some granting to do that work, and we keep pushing to maintain that granting, and I'm scared we're going to lose that granting. Anyway, next question.
Can I ask just a question then? As residents of that particular area, is there anything we can do to pressure the City of Montreal that's aside from what the council can do?
So So I'm going to tell you what the president at the time of the executive committee said to me when we were talking about all these things. He said very clearly, the residents of the demerged municipalities don't vote for me. So I don't, in all effect, I don't care what we think.
Okay.
Being very honest with you, ma'am, that's exactly the way it was phrased to me in those words.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can absolutely send the letters in, absolutely. Next question from Joanne Bailey, 36 Campbell. I'd like to know how the new name was chosen for the new arena. What was the process? Who made the decision? Was there any public consultation? Councillor Feeney, please.
Thank you very much for your question, Joanne. It's a good question. I'll answer the easy ones first. Who made the decision? The decision was made by the fundraising committee. Was there a public consultation? No. What is the process? The process is a bit longer. So when we decided to go ahead with fundraising for the new sports and recreation center to offset the costs that the residents would have to pay, we brought in a fundraising consultant. That consultant helped us set up guidelines, fundraising guidelines, which set up a whole lot of different criteria. One of them being donations and how they were recognized. And so there was the council approved a document based on their recommendations for various levels of recognition for different donations, going all the way from $1,000 for a donor plaque to $1 million, which is the amount that's going to be paid for the ice rental of the ice service. And let's be clear, we're not talking, when we noted the naming opportunity, not the naming of the whole arena, the new sports and recreation center. This is for the naming of the ice surface, for the ice rink. And so once we did that, we handed that off to the fundraising committee, headed by Scott McKenzie and his crew. And it was very important that we be at arm's length from this, that the fundraising committee that was going to raise the funds for the recreation center, and so they went to work and they did an amazing job. And to date, they have raised over $2 million. And in the process, one person did donate the $1 million for the naming opportunity for the ice surface, and that was the Michelin family, Andy Michelin and his family. And that is why you all received a bulletin recently saying that the ice surface was going to be named the Rob and Steve, is it? Rob and Steve Michelin ice surface. So we're very grateful to the Michelin family for that. But anyway, in short, that's the process. That's how it's set up. It was the fundraising is done through the fundraising committee at arm's length from council. So I hope that responds to your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Kevin Brothaler at 27 Ballantyne North. I appreciate your ongoing efforts to ensure safe, efficient streets. Ballantyne North and Strathern are seeing heavy weekday congestion from cut-through drivers, including trucks. Can you explain why resident-only restrictions haven't been applied and what strategies the town is considering to reduce this traffic? Additionally, there's a suggestion to ban pedestrian crossings at Westminster and Sherbrooke. Would the town support or oppose this, and what is the reasoning behind your decision? Thank you for your time. So resident-only access to certain streets are only as good as the enforcement, Mr. Brothaler. So unless we have policemen in place following where these cars are going when they turn onto those streets, it's not a useful system. It's not an enforceable system. Some people have pointed out, and somebody asked me a similar question. They say these things are being used in Hampstead. They're actually not being used in Hampstead. What they're doing in Hampstead is a particular time when you're coming down Fleet, as an example, you can't make left turns for certain times. You can for others, you can't for other times. So that's very easy for then the police to be there for that 15, 20 minutes, you're allowed or not allowed, and issue tickets. But there is no efficient way, because it's the SPVM that has to do it, to enforce resident-only access to streets. In terms of the crosswalk at Westminster Sherbrooke, the idea is that we're going to reinforce the safety crossing from east to west. So in other words, crossing, I'll use it in general terms, from the Farmer Prix to the Action Sport Physio. That crosswalk is going to be enforced or reinforced in terms of safety. We're trying to get rid of people crossing from Westminster, from the Farmer Prix, crossing over on that side of the tracks, on the north side of the tracks because there are no sidewalks near the tracks. We wanted to discourage people from doing that. So we prefer that you walk on the west side because there are sidewalks there. So that's why we're trying to reinforce the safety crossing at Sherbrooke. Okay, thank you for your question. Judy Kennedy, 151 Strathern North. Is it possible to tell the garbage collector to place the top of my garbage can on my path and not thrown on my flower bed? Can you ask him to please put the recycle bin also on my path as well? Several times now I've had to get out of my car to move things out of the way so I can get into my driveway. That's not an inconvenience normally, but now with a great deal of cars going on Strathern to get to Milner, I have to stop and a car almost hit me. Could police presence be available during evening rush hour on Strathern? Councillor Yulin, please.
Sure, well, I'll answer the garbage-related question. Thank you, Judy, for the question. I'm going to ask that you make that suggestion directly to Public Works on the website. They have a form for that you can send in complaints about the garbage contractors. We get those, and it's important that we get them and that we have them on file in a written form so that we can deal with the contractors directly, and we can even fine them if this behavior keeps up. So thanks for your question, and I do encourage you to go on the website and fill out that form. Thank you.
In terms of the second part of your question, Ms. Kennedy, having police presence on Strathern, yes, there are a ton more cars going down Strathern, down Ballantyne, but unless they're running stop signs, and they really can't because there's just too jammed up, there's nothing the police is going to be able to do. Nobody's actually breaking the law by coming down Strathern or coming down Ballantyne. So we could ask for extra police presence, but I'm not exactly sure what that would accomplish because there are no rules that prevent cars coming down those streets. And like I said, even if we were able to get police to come and be there, which is not the case, I'm not sure that they'd be able to do anything efficient. Next, thank you for your question. Next question from Alex Cappadocia, 24 Crestwood. When will the street light be repaired? It's been out for many months. Spoke to public security about a month ago and haven't had any feedback or repair. Thanks. Councillor Yulin, please.
Sure, thanks for your question. Alex, yes, the light should be repaired in the next week. Thanks for your question.
And Alex, we both assume that we're speaking of the solar-powered light that's at that's in front of 88 Crestwood. If that isn't the case, please send us another email so we'll know exactly which one you're referring to.
Thank you.
Next question from Andy Malolepsy, 321 Brock North. Thank you for the excellent pop-up event yesterday. Lots of fun and planning for so many events in the near future. One regarding this Saturday's garage sale. It's forecasting rain. If it does, how will the town communicate that it will be postponed to Sunday? And second question, when does the town predict an end to the Easton project? With all the road work planned, it would be great to free that area up. Elizabeth, if you can answer the first part.
Yes, thanks for your question, Andy. I can answer the first question, and that is about the garage sale. And so we will, if it is rained out on Saturday, so only if it is rained out, and it will be Sunday, we will send out a town bulletin, and it will also be on the town Facebook page. Okay, if there's no bulletin, it's on Saturday. If there's a bulletin saying it's postponed, it will be on Sunday. Thanks for your question.
And the second part, the work across the street has been, basically the vast majority of it's been finished. What's left in terms of the street work is adding a final layer of asphalt and rebuilding the sidewalk in front of the new building. They've asked on and off for like a day permit to have a tractor, a crane. They had some work to do on the roof. And there's a bit more of that coming, but that's on and off. Like, from what I could see, they have to still add some railings in front of some of those balconies. So I'm assuming that's going to come, but I don't know. We don't have an answer about when the big work's going to be done in terms of the sidewalk being repaired and the work, the road having that other layer of asphalt being added. I don't have an idea when that's going to be done. Thank you for your question. Philip Bergeron, 23 Garden. Thank you for the outstanding job you're doing for the city. Will any elected representatives council be participating in the garage sale band and lemonade stand this Saturday? We have 90 garage sales, 10 bands, and 11 lemonade stands participating. You were dated, Elizabeth. Yeah. Can you please mention a council? And 2, what is the city's policy with city trees and pruning by the owners? There seems to be several municipal trees pruned and not providing proper canopy in my small neighborhood of Montreal-West. Elizabeth, please.
Thanks for your question, Phil. So, to answer your first question about elected officials, yes, Colleen is participating in the garage sale, and I may have a lemonade stand on her driveway, or sell some things as well. I think that's what that's the count here on council. So Colleen and I will be participating. In terms of the maintenance of municipal trees, so definitely residents cannot prune city trees. Even if it's in front of their house, they cannot prune the city trees. So if you find that that's happening, you should let Public Works know. And by the same token, you should let Public Works know if you feel like the maintenance of the trees is problematic via the Public Works Department or our contractors. If there's any sort of problems with the way these are being maintained, you can let them know directly. Thanks for your question.
Thank you very much. Next question from Eric Ross, 233 Percival. Is there anything being done about the uptick in the rat population in the city? Is there a theory on why there are so many rats? Could it have something to do with garbage policies? Councillor Yulin, please.
Okay. Suddenly the rat person. So Public Works has not seen an uptick in the town sewer mains, they report. So we're not sure if it has anything to do with the town infrastructure. It is unlikely that it does. There aren't any streets open, or sometimes when we redo a street, you'll get rats coming out at that point. So it is almost certainly on the private side, which is not something that would be handled by Public Works. And you're asking if it could have something to do with the garbage situation or the garbage collection situation. Well, we've actually made stricter garbage collection policies recently, and that residents are not supposed to be or are not allowed to put out, for instance, garbage bags any longer. Everything has to be in a bin, because garbage bags were in fact creating problems with having them ripped open by animals and having garbage strewn about the streets. So I would not think it has anything to do with garbage policy. It almost certainly has to do with the way people are managing their own private garbage on their property. But we have not, as a town, seen an uptick of rats. So that's the only way I can answer you there. Thanks for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. Luis Suhami, 316 Ballantyne North. Once the work is completed at the arena, is there a plan to redo the soccer field on the land south of the arena? Councillor Feeney, please.
Yes, thank you very much for your question, Mr. Suhami. Yes, once the new recreation center is open, the soccer field will be available for play. There are also plans as part of phase 2 of the whole recreation center in Hodson's Field redo to redo the soccer field and put a running track around it. So that's phase 2 that will be coming down the road, but of course that's after the recreation center is completed. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Suhami. Last question from Peter Cooney, 101 Brock South. We desperately need, after many askings, to have the center bough of a hollow silver maple tree removed before someone gets it on their head, the roof of their car, etc. The other bough broke loose and went vertically across the street. Tree is located at 101 Brock South, corner of Avon. Very damaged, very hollow, and roots exposed. It's about 100 years old. 100 years old. Please resolve this issue. Peter Cooney.
Thank you, Peter, for your question. So we at Public Works received that notification on Sunday, May 19th, and are taking it seriously. We will have the tree inspected by Nadeau, a company that we contract with to do our tree inspections, and we'll proceed from there depending on his evaluation. I should let you know that it usually takes a few weeks before we get an assessment back. But at that time, we will absolutely do it as soon as possible if it's required. And you'll be told of whatever the assessment is when we get it back. But thanks for your question, Peter.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. The end of question period. We're going to continue with the rest of the agenda. Administration and Finances, approval of disbursements for April 26th to May 23rd.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the list of accounts payable from April 26th to May 23rd, 2025, totaling $791,053.77, and a payroll in the amount of $235,495.97, which is from the period 18 to period 20, be approved and paid.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Seconder, please.
I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois de mai 2025.
Oui, je propose d'approuver le rapport de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005-002 pour le mois de mai 2025.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux avoir un appui?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. Establishment of subcategories of residential and non-residential immovables on the property assessment roll for 2026, 27, and 28. There's a new roll being deposited, and we've had some existing categories that we need to have reapplied, in other words, to the evaluation rolls, and we want to bring in a new one as well. So, Councillor Feeney, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the new powers granted by an act to amend the act respecting municipal taxation and other legislative powers, SQ 2023, Chapter 33, allows municipalities to divide their territory into sectors for taxation purposes, whereas the municipality may, with respect to each sector, divide the composition of the non-residential immovables category and of the residual category into subcategories of immovables, whereas the identification of those subcategories must be communicated to the assessor, in this case, the Service de l'évaluation foncière of the City of Montreal, so that they can be integrated into the 2026, 2027, and 2028 property assessment roll. Whereas the Municipal Council wishes to identify subcategories as part of its planning of local development and taxation, therefore I move, first, to identify the following subcategory of non-residential immovables, and that is on the non-residential basic category. Second, to request the identification of the following subcategories of residential immovables in the property assessment roll. First, 6 dwellings and more, and also railway, CUBF code 4111. And third, to request the assessor, the Service de l'évaluation foncière, to enter these subcategories of residential and non-residential immovables in the 2026, 2027, 2028 property assessment roll.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Urban Planning, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on May 21st, 2025. To approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 166 Northview, installation of a wheelchair ramp on the side leading to the back entrance. 43 Milner, replacement of 3 basement windows. 7577 Roxton, replacement of 6 windows. To approve with conditions under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 3 Banstead, replacement of the railing of the front stairs. And last, to defer the examination of the following plans to the next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 263 Percival, replacement of 14 windows and 2 doors. 305 Valentine North, removal of the side walls and capping stones on the main entrance. Stairs and landing, recapping the front stairs and landing and installation of railings. And last, 244 Percival, replacement of the roof asphalt shingles.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public Works, group purchase of clear diesel fuel, delegation of powers to the Société de Transport de Montréal. This is a situation where we get together with other municipalities and we do a group purchase. In this case here, it's about the purchase of clear diesel fuel, and it's the STM, who's the biggest user in the City of Montreal, that's leading that call for tenders.
So whereas the Supply Services Department of the City of Montreal has offered the town of Montreal-West to participate in a group call for tenders, excuse me, headed by the STM for the purpose of awarding a contract for the management and supply of clear diesel, whereas the savings that should be made through this approach make it advisable to accept the proposal. Therefore, I move that the town of Montreal-West confirm its participation in the group call for tenders headed by the STM for the management and supply of clear diesel as proposed by the City of Montreal, and that the town of Montreal-West agree to delegate its competence to the City of Montreal for the purpose of a 2-year contract with 3 annual renewal options.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you, Councillor Torres. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Dépôt du rapport du vérificateur. Les états financiers pour l'exercice financier 2024 sont déposés ce soir au conseil. And Councillor Feeney will give us a resume of the principal elements of this report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So yes, we always have our work, the audit, it always has to be reviewed by an external auditor and then sent to the government. So the 2024 financial statements were audited. It was an unqualified opinion, meaning that the auditor thought that the statements accurately reflect the financial situation of the town. The good news is we showed an operating surplus of over 2 million, 2.141 million for the 2024 fiscal year. That was divided really mainly. We had two things. We had extra revenues of about 1.5 million. Over 400,000 of that was due to increased sales and therefore resulting in a higher duties on transfer for the town. Another $343,000 came from higher interest rates and interest on arrears. And in addition to $246,000 was from additional revenue from our recreation programs. That's basically most of them. Day camp, pool, even even at different locations, it exceeded our expectations. So we had an extra 1.5 million in an unanticipated revenues there. And on the expense side, our operating expenses were about $655,000 under budget. And that really is, again, two main areas. We had $411,000 less than budgeted for interest on long-term debt and bank charges. And that was due to two things. First of all, the interest rate was decreased, so that was favorable for us for all when we were refinancing our prior loans. And secondly was the decision to delay going for financing for our long-term loan for the recreation center. We were able to cover this past year using our cash flow and our surpluses. So that was a very big boon for us. And we also had about $300,000 less in salary costs. So everything else, actually, apart from those, everything else was right on budget in the expense account. So, but between the $655,000 less in expenses and the 1.5 million additional in revenue, then we arrived at just about our $2.1 million in our surplus. Regardless of that, we were able to do a lot of capital investments last year. In fact, we did $24.3 million. The vast majority of that, of course, is the new recreation center, $22.7 million. We did some resurfacing on Avon for about $179,000, and then we had about $265,000 of capital expenses that we paid for on a pay-as-you-go basis, and that included, you've probably seen them around here, repairs to our town hall foundation, and new electrical entry, water flow regulators, for the town, capital assets for new equipment for the new recreation center, et cetera, et cetera. So that was an extra $265,000. At year end, town's debt stood at $17.3 million. That is up. That's up from the $11.5 million in 2023, and of course, it's related to the new recreation center. However, it's not, our debt has been higher before. In the past 10 years, if we look at our net debt, it only increased from 16.9 million 10 years ago to a current 17.3 million. And in that time frame, we've actually had capital investments of 45.9 million. So that's excellent use of our financing and of our money. We also have now, thanks to our surplus, we have an unappropriated operating surplus of 2.6 million. We have an appropriated surplus of 784,000 and a working fund of over 1 million. So we're very pleased with the financial state of the town. You'll be able to read all this. The financial statements, as they are sent to the government, are going to be on the website tomorrow morning, and I've written in a report for the Informer, and so you'll get all those details in the Informer, which should be delivered this coming weekend. So final thing, I just want a very big thanks to our treasurer, Valentina Taudoron, for all the works that she has done, and also for our managers in the town who do such a good job managing the funds, managing your funds, and ensuring that our financial outlook remains good despite all the major infrastructure development that we're doing. So that's my little précis.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. We're going to go to second question period. Second question period is only for questions that pertain to subjects that were on the agenda this evening. Same thing, we'll start with questions from the room, and then you, if there's any that come online. Yes, ma'am.
Cynthia Nichols, still 25 Westminster. I'd like a little bit of clarification on number 10C. You mentioned something about CP Rail. Can you just give me a little bit more information on that, please?
Sure. So hang on a second, make sure I'm reading the right one. Yeah, so that's the categories. So in other words, we have to tell the evaluation department which categories we want, and we want to have a separate category for the railways, the land that the railways are running on. So in other words, that land that...
so we're going to be taxing them?
I'm sorry?
We're going to be taxing them?
We currently tax
We
them.
currently tax them, but we just want it to be a separate
A different category.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the subcategories
The other ones,
for non-residential?
they're the same. That hasn't changed. We just have to reapply for it, like 6 units and up, you know, and the non-residential. We just have to.
So we're going to be
reconfirm.
having 16 units and up?
No,
Six.
6 units and
Oh,
up.
six.
We're just a separate category to have it for 6 units and
Okay.
up.
I thought we were actually
No.
developing to pay for the sports and recreation center. I think we'll need a tower at least 20 stories myself, but that's me. The second thing, where is it? Okay, I don't know if this is a perk for the town or whether it's a conflict of interest, but weren't you a director with Transport Quebec and the STM when we all of a sudden got the 123 bus running through town?
No, I was on the STM for a year, 2015, 16, I don't remember the dates.
That worries me a little bit.
There are
With the
elected
diesel-
officials that
the
are
diesel
directors on the
fuel.
town.
Okay.
No, it's got nothing to do with the diesel fuel, and I don't sit on that council anymore.
All right,
Thank you. Any other questions from the room? And there are none that came online, so if I could have somebody move to close the meeting, please. La
Oui.
levée de la séance, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je propose de lever la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux voir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
J'ai l'appui.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.